Hey guys, a couple years ago I was fortunate enough to travel through Southeast Asia. I had the best time. I fell in love with the culture and the people, and most notably the food. The food there is like out of control. And I remember one day I was in Vietnam and I wasn't feeling great, and I had a bowl of pho, and it was just like totally life-changing. I immediately felt amazing and so much better. And so to this day, I still swear that when you're feeling kind of like a little under the weather, if you just have a big bowl of pho, everything will be better. Here's how I make my Vietnamese faux pho. So first, I've got a Dutch oven over medium heat. I'm gonna add just a little splash of a neutral oil. Today I'm using grapeseed oil, but you can use kind of canola oil or vegetable oil, or even like avocado oil. To that, I'm gonna add in half an onion, and we're just gonna let that saute down. And while that sautés, let's deal with these mushrooms. So I have kind of a mix of shiitake and oyster mushrooms that we're gonna put into the pho broth to kind of like add a little bit of richness. So I'm just gonna quickly clean these. If you can't find shiitake or oysters, you can definitely just use cremini, or you can actually use dried mushrooms. Just rehydrate them in warm water and then put the rehydrated mushrooms into the pot, as well as that kind of really delicious liquid that was with it. So this is kind of like my cheater pho. That's why I call it my faux pho, if you get it. This is not like a traditional Vietnamese pho recipe, because those take hours and hours of stock boiling and all these flavors. This is kind of like my cheater version, which you can make in 1 hour or less, which is perfect because when you're sick, the last thing you want to do is cook. So my onions are nice and soft. To that, we're going to add those mushrooms. So my mushrooms are wilted down and soft. We're going to add a big pinch of salt. And then about a 2-inch piece of ginger. You want to make sure it's whole because we're going to fish it out later with the skins removed. So throw that in there. And then here is like the secret weapon in this recipe. We have half of a cinnamon stick, kind of like just a regular cinnamon stick if you cut it in half. It provides this kind of like warm, spicy flavor, like undertone. So cinnamon stick in there, and then 2 star anise. But they add kind of like an anise or a licorice undertone, which is really, really tasty. So throw 2 of those in there, give it a stir for like 30 seconds. Okay, and to that, we're just gonna add in some chicken stock. You want about 6 cups of chicken stock. Store-bought is fine, but if you have homemade, unfortunately I don't have homemade, but if you have homemade, even better. Okay, so here is my second kind of like secret ingredient slash secret tip. So traditional pho, it takes hours and hours of boiling stock and meat to create this really rich broth. Since I don't have that amount of time, or I do, but I don't want to use that amount of time in this recipe, I'm gonna take chicken broth and then boil more chicken in it to create this kind of like faux, really, really thick chicken broth. So I have 2 chicken breasts with the bone still on. And so the bone has all that flavor that kind of will thicken the broth. So we're gonna put directly into the pot of pho and let that kind of simmer away and basically poach the chicken, but also create this really rich chicken broth. So just straight on in. We're gonna bring it to a boil, reduce down to a simmer, and then cook until that chicken is completely cooked through. So my chicken is cooked and it smells amazing. It just like all of those rich flavors in this pho are coming out. It smells so good. So I'm gonna take out my chicken, just place it into a bowl, and then we're gonna remove the skin and the bones and then just shred the chicken. And while we shred it, we are gonna cook off some rice noodles. If you didn't want to use rice noodles, you could use regular pasta noodles or even spiralized zucchini or like zoodles. Anything works. I like rice noodles just because it absorbs all the flavor in the pho, but you could use anything you want. Okay, so I've shredded my chicken. It's gonna go back into my broth, but those noodles are nice and soft. Put that straight on back in. And then we're gonna add in some fish sauce. I know fish sauce makes some people feel uncomfortable. I totally get it, but this is my favorite brand. It's the tastiest. And I promise once you use it, you'll realize how amazing it is. But if you wanna skip fish sauce, you could also just do soy sauce. So you want about 2 tablespoons. I like to serve my pho with the bottle of fish sauce because then people can put it on more if they want. So my pho is ready to be eaten. I have a big bowl. We're gonna scoop some of this chicken and the broth and the noodles. It smells amazing. I'm pretty sure I could just live only on pho. It's so good. And then when you have a big bowl, you can't forget the toppings. So I like to put a little green onion on there. Of course, serve it with some lime, the big squeeze of lime, some cilantro or mint or basil, any kind of like soft herb would be really good. Put a little jalapeno on top, and then one final dash of fish sauce. And you are ready to eat. It smells so good. I promise if you're sick, it'll make you better, or if you just need like a really comfortable bowl of food that's also really healthy, this is it. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and make sure to hit subscribe because I upload new recipe videos each week.